Okay. So here's another one of those kind of questions you'd want to ask Janice. Do you want to see every single salesperson? Or do you want to see salespeople that had a commissionable transaction? How she answers that will determine which table I want to go to. I want to see every salesperson. I'd probably go to my salesperson purchaser table for that. That's a master table for my salespeople. I only want to see salespeople that had a commissionable transaction. So if they didn't do anything that month, I don't want to see them on my report. I don't want to list them out and then see 0. In that instance, I'd have to go to my customer ledger entry table. Look at the transactions for my customers. What did we sell them to? Okay. So let's just start under the assumption that she wants to see every salesperson, regardless of whether they sold something or not. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to go to my, let's put in my salesperson / purchaser tables, which is actually what this is. Purchaser table. And the code, or the field in that table, well, I'm not really sure what it is.
It's code.
I heard it back there. It's code. Yep. So again, if I don't know it, salesperson, purchaser, I'm going to scroll on down. And I'm going to kind of look for, oh, I've got a code, right? I could go through here and I probably wouldn't see, you know, a number. Right? I've got no number. I got their name, their job title. Be wary of salesperson code. If you have it in your database, for me, this salesperson code is actually an advanced dimension, but it shows up in here and it's not fully populated. So that's one of the things I kind of stress to people with your master tables. If it's a salesperson purchaser table, don't look for something that says salesperson in it, right? If you're trying to find that unique value. So I'm looking for that unique value, that code. Okay, so I've got it, and that is code. That salesperson name. Where am I going to go to get that?
Exactly, the name.
Yep, and that's their name. Their commission percent. This one's kind of tricky. It's actually, in this case, we pay salespeople, you get 5%, you get 4%, you get 6%, regardless of what it is. That's just what they get. Now, some other people might say, well, for this customer, you get this percent. In that instance, you'd have to go to that customer card. So it depends on how your database is structured. In this one, we're going to just assume that our salespeople just get, they get 5%, you get 5% for everybody. So I'm going to, again, go to my salesperson purchaser, and I'm going to pull that, what is it? Commission percent with the actual sign. So we want to make sure we note that. Commission percent. Make sure we get it correct.
We have one on commission now, we did.
Yeah, for abrasives.
So now we've got to come down to our customer number. And I'm going to have to go back to Janice and ask her a question again. Do you want to see all customers? Or do you want to see customers that had a commissionable transaction? So this is another one of those that could go one of two places. She says I want to see all customers. I have to go to my customer table. And I would need the number. But now I'm going to two different tables. What links my customer table and my salesperson purchaser table? That salesperson. So what I end up having to do is go back in here and add a spot and say, okay, in my customer table, it's salesperson code. That's what links those two together. I said, you know what, I'm going to build this off of here, so I'm going to come back and just kind of note that. All right, customer number. That customer name,
Customer table.
back to that customer table and its name. total transactions. Well, what I'm after is add that in there, the total of those transactions. Well, I can't get that from the customer table. I definitely can't get that from the salesperson purchaser table. So now I've got to go to another table.
The item.
I'm going to go to the cust period ledger entry. I'm going to look at the transactions for my customers. As soon as I do this, I say, okay, well now I'm using another table. How can I link my salesperson and my customer ledger entry table? Well, I've already got my salesperson and my customer table linked together. So I could, yeah, I'm going to link it to my customer table. So I'm going to go back into my customer number here and add another field. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I need to go to my cust ledger entry. And here it is customer number. I'm going to add another little red here for my own knowledge because I'm going to have, this is a grouping report. We looked at it, right? We need a list of all our salespeople and we need a list of all our customers. So I'm going to know which two things drive my report. And my total transactions. To get that amount, well, let's look at this real quick. Let's go to my cust ledger entry. I've got two amounts. I've got an amount with a dollar sign. Anybody know the difference? Which one you choose, well, depends. Do you do any foreign currency? All right. So yeah, if you use the one with the dollar sign, or you might see it as LCY, it converts those transactions into your local currency. If I choose just amount, that's going to be reporting in that local currency, in that currency that the transaction occurred. So as use the example of, we did something, our client's down in Mexico, and we sold something for 10 million pesos. Yay, if I report off the amount, it's going to look like we had $10 million in sales. But if I change that to the local currency, maybe that's $100. I don't know the local exchange rate now. So we want to make sure we use the right one when we're using our reporting.
So which one is the local? The one without
the one with the dollar sign means convert it to
dollars.
Or you might see it as LCY, convert it to our local currency. So I'm going to type in amount, and I'm going to make sure I include that dollar sign as a reference and say, hey, make sure I choose the right field. Or again, it might be LCY is another way to see it. Yeah.
I've seen in other report writers where when you go to link tables, that they often have like the key or primary keys or things like that highlighted or bolded or something so that you can easily distinguish
That's
kind of connectors.
So one nice thing with the browser is most people don't notice this. If we come down to the details, I usually don't cover this because most people don't understand the whole primary keys and stuff like that, to be honest. If we click on the details, I can click on any one of my tables here, and I can see the keys for that table, and I can see how it's related to other tables based on the fields and the related fields. So this can come in very handy. If you're familiar with that concept, this is very, very helpful. But you'd be surprised how few people that I teach get what any of this means. In fact, I can get the table number. Okay? I can even click on a specific field. Here's the field number, what type it is, what class. So I can kind of get some more information out of that as well. So yeah, if you're looking to say, well, what are my primary keys? How is that related to other tables? That's a great resource for you. And the total commission. Well, how do I determine this total commission? Yeah, this is just going to be an Excel calculation, right? I didn't put it on here. Percent. This is just going to be, give me the total of those transactions times their percent to give me that. So what I'm just going to put in is something like Excel function. Just something so I know that it's just Excel. I'm not gonna have to pull anything out of there. You can put NA, you can put calculation, whatever it is that you wanna do. So you can see how this gets really, really complicated. You very rarely ever get to just pull from one table. If you do a little happy dance, because it makes your report writing that much easier, but most of the time you're gonna have to pull from multiple tables. You're gonna have to determine how those tables are linked together. Really the most important thing to understand is, what is it the report is supposed to show, right? In this one we're saying, well, we want to see every salesperson and we want to see every customer. But Janice could have just as easily said, no, I only want to see salespeople who had a commission, and I only want to see customers who had a transaction. In this instance, if she said, well, I only want customers that had a transaction, well, in that case, I'd go to my cost ledger entry and I pull that salesperson code. I'm pulling this unique identifier, and that's really, really what we're after. What is that unique identifier to create this list? We'll talk about that again when we start talking about our two types of dynamic lists. Is lunch here? Okay. So we'll do lunch. We will talk about, we'll do setting up our options page. And then we'll do some practice of figuring out what tables we're going to pull from. And hopefully by then the database is set up so you can actually go through the browser and look for these things. Alright, so let's take 30 minutes for lunch. 12:30.
Yes, I'm not sure.
Looks like it's on
He's ready to do that, okay.
So I don't know if you kind of explained, the problem that we're having is everybody's trying to access the seafront file at the same time. And it's causing a lot of
Battery is really gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Just to
Well, it's everything trying to access it all at the same time. And it's basically saying, hey, only one. See, I thought we had said, you know, because the system wasn't working properly, and I just assumed the all day and right now walking through and got it. But yeah, what happens is, as soon as one person starts using that
mat thing
office
This
file,
wasn't a little